Although electricity has been generated in commercial quantities in Nigeria for over a century, the rate of electricity infrastructure development in the country is very low and power supply remains inadequate. Prior to reforms, the central challenges of the Nigerian power sector has been attributed to monopoly of government in power generation and transmission and distribution. With the reforms which successfully privatized the generation and distribution segments of the Nigerian electricity supply industry, the overbearing problems in the sector persist, bringing much burden on privatization itself. In 2020, for instance, the federal government of Nigeria targeted to achieve up to 75% access to electricity through an attempt to connecting about 1.5 million households annually. Observers say the target was not realized due to many challenges. Improving electricity supply, therefore, remains very crucial for business sustainability and human comfort. On the health front, inconsistent power is variously reported to have affected medical facilities and risking patient care. A robust power infrastructure not only enhances business efficiency, but also ensures a healthier and more reliable environment for communities. How would Nigeria begin to address the issue of mitigating factors in achieving her energy target? Thanks for joining us. This is Nigeria Today, and I am Ikaria Clinton. Welcome. Joining us to discuss improving electricity supply is the President, Nigeria Consumer Protection Network, Kunle Kola Olubio.
It's my pleasure. Thank you.
It's good to have you on Nigeria Today.
Thank you. Yes, thank you very much.
I'm also joining us via Zoom from Lagos. He's the Director General, Manufacturers Association of Nigeria, MAN, Ajayi Kajiri. Thank you for joining us on Nigeria Today.
Thank you for having me.
I will start with you. For some time now we've been having, quite, if you ask some persons, they will tell you we've not really seen light for a while. And of course there have been a lot of reforms in this sector. Now, what are the current challenges facing Nigeria electricity supply system?
Thank you very much. From the interesting thing about it is that Segun Kadri in Lagos is a consumer, individually and institutionally. That's MAN, which comprises the Manufacturer Association of Nigeria. On the government side, from the president, VP, from top to bottom, everybody, an average Nigerian is an electricity consumer or end user customer. So we are the primary off-takers. Before privatization, before November 2013, that's what we call, there were a budget that was made for gas by federal government through the National Electric Power Authority and Power Holding Company of Nigeria, PACN. And government budgeted for gas. Some consumption of gas were utilized by NEPA PACN. That is pre-privatization, fall under the category of legacy debt. Legacy means that inherited debt pre-privatization. There was a debt that was thrown at a community in Delta State by Benin Electricity Distribution Company. When it was audited, it was discovered that the steel plant in Delta and some other facilities that were not even the community consumed that. So when you have a legacy debt pre-privatization, because government is seen by every person with our mindset as a cash cow, debt will be thrown at federal government. We have 2.something billion US dollars debt, legacy debt. We have gas legacy debt. Federal government need to interrogate these debts. Federal government did not consume electricity because as end users we pay for our electricity. So, and before now, when we ask the investors to come and invest in a generation upstream, we agreed that their capacity was 3,500. Raise this capacity to 7,500. So that within the 10-year period, from 2013 to 2023, we will have expected that there will have been a major review of the privatization exercise. But that has not been done. Because if you have capacity agreement, that is transition electricity market. Every evolution of development has its transition stages. And after 10 years, we have what they call the bulk electricity market ended. That was supposed to be capitalized through the sovereign wealth fund. The money for capitalization of NBET was mismanaged. So NBET was not fully capitalized because the GENCOs does not have direct interface with the DISCOs. NBET comes in as a go-between to provide a buffer. NBET is supposed to buy electricity from the generation company and pay them upfront, make commitment, provide security guarantee. But now the generation company now will go to the bank to go and borrow money post privatization. Any money that is debt that have been verified, we are not against that. Federal government should get it sorted out. So generation will generate, NBET will be the single buyer, give to the DISCOs. As we even speak now, last week, Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission came out with what they call minimum remittance order for the distribution company, level distribution company. Some of the distribution company were even institutionalized inefficiency to pay 2%. If I am a generation company, and I generate transmit, that come with auxiliary charges, services, and when you transport the power, that is the transmission line, to the distribution company, and you are telling them to pay 2%, maximum 15%, who is going to pay 75%? So these are all the inefficiencies that is being created. And good enough, I was privileged to interact with the Minister of Power for about 2 hours, and the gentleman has demonstrated intention that come next month, you bring all the stakeholders together. There are things that we cannot exhaust in a single swoop now, so that we look at the real issues. They are multifaceted. Manufacturers are facing it. They are closing shop. The end users, it's not the best of time for us now.
Kola, I'll have to stop you here so that we'll bring in Ajayi Kadiri to tell us his own, from his own angle. Now, Ajayi, how do interruptions in electricity supply impact the operations and production of businesses, industries, and of course, also how does it impact on household? It's not like we don't know some of these things, but the fact remains we know it remotely. But the extent is what we cannot fathom. So walk us through it.
Okay, thank you very much again for having me. For the households, I think it will just suffice to say that I'm using generator now. So it tells the story about how an average home in Nigeria is experiencing the inadequacy of power. But to my constituency, which is the manufacturing sector, I think more than any other sector that you could possibly imagine, the impact of inadequacy of power is enormous. Just to give you some figures, in the first half of 2023, manufacturers spent 281 billion naira on alternative source of power. We had only an average of 9 hours of supply during the same period out of 24 hours. And you know that manufacturers operate 24/7 in order to boost their capacity utilization and to meet customer demands. So for us in the manufacturing sector, the inadequacy of power is like denying a human being blood in his body. And I think it's always good for us to break it down in such a way that the enormity of the challenge that inadequacy of power portends for the manufacturer is severe. An average manufacturer will have anywhere between 28 to 40% of his cost structure on power. And when that is inadequate, you are not competitive. The impact is seen in several areas. One, in terms of our competitiveness, which is very significant. If you factor in the fact that we are in a global community and you have to be competitive to be able to produce, to export, or to even compete in your own country. It also has impact on the cost of our products. and our capacity to create jobs and to even pay taxes to government. So power is an essential part of our cost structure, and you may not be able to have a competitive manufacturing industry without a country that is well powered and obtaining power at a price that is fair.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, it's like we're having some network issues there, but we'll come back to him though. Now back to you, Kola. Now, how can Nigeria achieve the infrastructure? How do we solve this problem? Because of course we know there are a lot of problems, just like you rightly said, and of course you said you talked to the minister, and there are some things in the offing. But then, how can we get out of these dilemma?
Well, it's a dilemma essentially because of human elements. I want to thank Mr. President that in the Rural Electrification Agency, ROA, in the last 3 or 4 days, the changes we requested for has been made. And this has to continue. Demonstration of political will, being radical and decisive. The president asked for vote. The president is aware of all the enormous challenges, like he said, and he still chooses to take up the job. So the time to walk the talk is now. You get my point? It's to sustain the confidence. And so Mr. President, those who have not come out to campaign, those who have not made pledges to Nigeria should not be there to constitute a clog in the wheel of progress. We want to still appeal to Mr. President using this medium channel that the regulatory ecosystem has to be cleaned up, just like he has started with ROA and Transmission Company of Nigeria. Just within the last 48 hours, there was a fire incident that affected the Kano transmission substation. For every major transformer, there is what we call either negligence of maintenance or poor maintenance culture. Every major transmission substation emits gas. And as they emit gas, if you don't do what we call the dissolved gas analysis, that's part of the maintenance scheme. Dissolved gas analysis. As the transformer is emitting the gas, after some time, if it's every 6 months, you clean up this gas element that is being emitted. If you don't do that, the transformer on its own will radiate fire and the thing will catch fire, like what happened in Kano. If you have transformer that was installed 20, 40 years ago, and you're supposed to have the stress test or stress load analysis, technical auditing of the equipment, recalibrate if a breaker is overloaded, if the system protection scheme are bad, you don't budget money. The Bureau of Public Procurement, you quote me, about 2 months ago, said that expenditure were made by institution of government, the TCA, of over 6 billion. Bureau of Public Procurement writing such letters. So what we are trying to say now is that federal government need to do a cleanup in TCN, do a cleanup in NEC, because a lot of the issues that is affecting us is not because we lack the regulatory framework. It is because nobody is being sanctioned. If there's going to be a fire incident like happened in Benin Kebbi, that happened in Kanji, if it's going to be fire, there's fire sensors in the protected scheme. There are different layers of protected scheme. So when an individual is given budget to do line tracing, vegetation encroachment of the grid, you go to some places, you see trees growing under the transmission line. Look at in Calabar last week, some traders within what we call the State House and Chambe or whatever junction in Calabar, they were trading. Yeah, it is wrong to trade under power lines, but they were trading, and there was cable snap. The cable cut and got a lot of people burnt. The same area in Calabar, some youth were watching football, Premier League, and the cable snapped and dropped and killed several people in 2019. I was in Europe for that. So what we are saying is that so much money by immediate past administration and present administration have been released and budgeted and released to the power sector.
The way forward.
The way forward, yes. The way forward is, this is not the best of time for Nigerians. In spite of government intention, in spite of release of funds. So federal government need to do radical changes. These are not issues we can be discussing on the public space like this. We have provided the interest. Federal government have to do the radical changes, because why now that the generation company that is not federal government that has created this lacuna due to regulatory gap, gas producer generation company, they are shutting down the whole economy because of indebtedness.
I'll stop you right there, and we'll take a break right now and listen to the views of Nigerians on the status put together by Alika Okpanachi Aroa. Do stay with us.
This inadequate electricity supply is really affecting business, especially the small business owners, because people that tend to sell these soft drinks, these cold soft drinks, they don't have electricity to power their sachet water or minerals. I don't know whatever the government can do to help in achieving this electricity issue, to help us curb it and all of that.
It may lead to collapse in many businesses, particularly the low-scale businesses. Again, we are in the time of Ramadan. The weather is actually very harsh. People may need light to, during the breaking of their Ramadan, to take something cool.
Like myself, I work and retire in the industry. But when we were there, it wasn't like this. But now there's something like maintenance. Go to this street, you don't see maintenance managers. Huh? They don't know the value of maintenance. The people now, they are talking of marketing and marketing. They are not after maintenance.
Sincerely, if government will see a way that they will move this burden back to a section of the government to handle and let us know where the problem is coming.
Change should start from an ordinary person, not only the government, because it's from an ordinary person we face people to get to the top. I'm advising my fellow citizens that they should not go to spoil things, to steal or to destroy things the way it's going.
Government should resolve the management of the electricity distribution company. They have to get them away and bring people that will work for us.
Welcome back. This is still Nigeria Today, and we're looking at improving electricity supply in Nigeria. And I have two gentlemen with me, one via Zoom, of course, one here in the studio. Now, to you, Mr. Kadiri. Now, I know you've told us on the impact. Now, how can government? What kind of collaboration would you want to see between the government, the businesses, to improve the electricity supply, and of course, also support economic growth?
Issues have to do with cost and accessibility, whether we are able to access power and the cost at which the power is supplied to the sector. In terms of accessibility, I believe that government needs to do more to make power available. And making it available has to do with directly incentivizing the right investment into that sector. The other comments being made by my partner on this program speaks to the real issues, that there's need for us to ensure that technically and financially speaking, we are able to attract the right investors into that sector so that we are able to have an improvement in terms of delivery. There should also be the fact, we should also make sure that we enable a situation where the energy poverty that is prevalent in all stratas of our economy. In the whole of Africa, we have about 560 million people that suffer from clean energy poverty. We have quite a chunk from Nigeria. There has to be a deliberate attempt by government to ensure that we have adequate delivery. For us in the manufacturing sector, the unavailability of power becomes a very critical factor in our manufacturing. For instance, if you are able to make power available at the right cost, it will be able to improve on our productivity. So we are looking forward to a situation, for instance, where even the power that is available, we pay for it as we consume. So there has to be a metering structure that removes completely the issue of paying for the inefficiency and the ineffectiveness of existing discos, so that you only pay for what you consume. And there's also, now that we have a new Electricity Act for 2023, there's the need for government to directly incentivize a situation where we have the right investors, both foreign and local, that will be able to bring in the required technical expertise, bring in the required financial capability to be able to sustain effective delivery of power, because it's so essential to alleviating poverty, which is one of the major objectives of this new.
Okay, we are having a little bit of, but he has made some valid points there. He talked about the, no, before you come in, he talked about the Electricity Act, and of course, there's this Light Up Nigeria program that's you know, Light Up Nigeria has been going on, and of course, some other states have been tapping into it. No, are you saying, from what you're saying, can't this initiative help solve some of those problems?
Thank you very much. The Light Up Nigeria was launched sometimes by the Vice President, respected Vice President Kashif Shettima in Agbara. And about 2 weeks ago or thereabouts, in Enugu, yes, for the Southeast, that's Southwest, and we're expecting in days to come that of the North Central. Yeah, the Light Up Nigeria is one of the key cabinet drive, the electricity access drive of the present administration. You are aware that about 17 years ago, the federal, state, and local government, that is the 3 tiers of government, put together what they call the National Integrated Power Project, which is the SPV, Special Purpose Vehicle for the Niger Delta Power Holding Company. And going back to regulation, the Niger Delta Power Holding Company, pre-privatization, invested heavily in trillions of naira in the transmission subsector, invested heavily in generation subsector and transmission lines. Now the regulator, the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission, as we speak, after about 18 years, they're supposed to quantify the volume of that investment and deduct a source from embed. So the investment, look at the licenses of the distribution company, why some people are calling for a revocation of license. Since the licenses took over the distribution sector, not a major substation, which is very important, has been built by them. So the Light Up Nigeria, which is by NIPP, is a good idea because it provided the avenue for willing buyer, willing seller. What is missing in the market is consumer does not have the right to choice or alternative. Now, the Niger Delta Power Holding Company, during the COVID-19, all the commercial generation companies shut down because the economy was shut down. It was the Niger Delta Power Holding Company that came to the rescue of Nigerians by providing the backup. So, but I haven't said that. I want to align with the Manufacturer Association of Nigeria that federal government need to retool the market structure, look at the gas, domestic gas obligation, the pricing of gas in naira, and a whole lot of issues that will enhance, like I said, Nigeria global competitiveness. If we don't do that, 3,000 megawatts that is being done, between 3,500 on the average, for a population of 220 million or more, is not a good omen for the country. Yeah.
Thank you very much. With that, we'll wrap up today's episode of Nigeria Today. A very big thank you to the president of the Nigeria Consumer Protection Network, Kunle Kola Ulubiyo. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Time and your contribution. And also the Director General, Manufacturers Association of Nigeria, Man Ajayi Kadiri. Thank you for your insight and your time.
Thank you very much for having me, even though the network was very bad.
And thank you for being part of the program. I'm Ikeria Clinton. Goodbye.